So we're getting ourselves set up for a treat of restorative yoga today. So I want you to get your blankets so they're in between. There's a bolster. So there's a rolled up blanket or flat. Some people like the height of their bolster to be lower than this. This is a little more comfortable for the lungs to have some elevation. But you know, I find that sampling variations that you just have a little bit of curiosity is important too. So this is one idea, is having that lift under your spine. And I'm going to consider this session really a focus on strengthening the diaphragm muscle, right here. And so to do that, we're going to emphasize twists, inversions, and some mobility of the vertebral column. And we'll take a simple series starting now. So I want you to start with your sacrum next to the edge of the short end of the bolster. You're going to place the blocks as you're used to on your knees, and when they part, the feet connect together. So the soles of your feet are nestled in. You can use a belt around your pelvis and your feet or not. So as I use the belt, preferably for me, I'm going to connect the belt to make a wide loop. And with that connection, I can place it around my head, over my mid-body, and then wrap it from my base of my sacrum down to my feet. And then as it hooks over my feet, I have to have ample space so that it connects comfortably but snug. So I want you to tighten that belt down. So this is important, that your root is secure. So the root is going to be legs, pelvis, spine. And I want you to twist to the left first. So right hand to left knee, rotational spine. So feel that spiral and the cycle of awareness down into the pelvic basin when you twist. Let your eyes center in as we begin to center our body and our brain into this practice. Come back center, bring the left arm forward, cross it over the right, hook the right arm under the left arm and intertwine the arms so the arms have a little bit of a twist. Lift the elbows up. See if you can stare to the arms as they elevate. Unwind, twist to your right side. Left hand to the right knee. Reach the hand back to the bolster blanket and twist. Yeah, feel the reason of circulation is from the dynamic of the ribs up into the heart. Feel the feet push together as you bring the right arm up and across the left. Intertwine the arms. And then if you can casually use your posterior core muscles to create a rounded back shape, elbows in towards the belly, and then slowly lower down onto the bolster, onto the blanket under your head, and stay for a while. Unwind your arms. Take a sandbag. Place the sandbag so it's high up, just below your sternum. So you're going to feel the bony structure of the ribs where they have their intersection below the sternum. And you want to get a feel of this is almost mirroring the diaphragm, your sandbag. And so when I place it there and I take a slow breath, it lifts the sandbag. So I want you to feel where that sandbag is in kind of a precarious position. It feels a little bit like it could slide, but it's certainly supportive of your strengthening of your diaphragm. So open out the arms. I suggest you let the back of your hands feel enough of a balance from left to right side. And then as your eyes rest into the brain, if you have hardware on your face like glasses, you might remove those unless you're teaching the class, and guiding yourself with a breath in and a breath out. And can you balance the exhale length with the inhale length? With the abdomen moving with the breath, so the movement of the breath is obviously going to move down to the belly. And there's no lungs in the belly, so belly breathing is a funny description, isn't it? Because that's not a place where the lungs live, but we do inhabit the sensation of breath there. It's like a mobile zone. And that mobilization is massaging through the abdominal organs. So I want you to move your sand a little bit lower so it really is cruising down to just kind of fold onto the lower abdomen. And feel your hands reach together, interlace your fingers, stretch your arms tall behind you so you have a very full reach of your arms. Press your palms back. Turn the hands inside out. Relax your head. Open the arms. And then we're going to move the sand off of the belly. And as you unbuckle, if you're using a belt, you're going to slide your feet together and then straight down. So I want you to feel this simple relaxation. This is a very simple supine relaxation shape. Legs are together, relaxing the feet. Okay, now as you slide your left foot in towards the buttock, you're going to move that block on the right side a little bit out. And then also, if you've got one of these groupie balls, you want one of these, or you'll use a block, you're going to slide the right foot to touch the inside, well, the big toe side of the left foot. And then see if you can actually get that right foot to lift up to the left knee. Now I do feel like my rear scoots a little bit down naturally as a habit to get there. So I'll put the ball next to the left outer hip and try to actually snug it in there so it's stuck, and then hold the right knee with your left hand and go into that hip. Feel the span of the ribs now. We want to focus on really that awareness of the intercostals moving, so the experience of the ribs. Arm reaches back, right arm. So that real experience of the ribs motioning with the breath. Now when you're holding onto that right knee, can you release both arms back so they're kind of in a state of uncertainty, right? They're a state of possibility when they're separating, and they're actually supported because your upper back band is on the bolster. So it's kind of nice to have this much activation in your arms, but also an awareness of range of motion. So can you keep those shoulders back and pinned in towards the bolster? Right knee open. Uncross the right knee. And then this time the left foot up to the right knee. So we may have skipped a step to get to the second side, but all the awareness is there into the pelvis. Move the ball or block to the right hip, and then lean the body weight into that ball or block. Hold the left knee with the right hand. Steer the consciousness into your ribs. Feel the left arm and its motion back. Yeah, try to stay connected to the possibility of circulation through this hip. with that awareness very keen into your leg, you're going to motion that leg path back to center. Left foot is still connected to the right. Knee, both arms back. Interlace your fingers. Turn the palms inside out behind you. Okay, and liberate the ribs. Okay, and get a feel here. Where is the connectivity in your spinal column down into the back of the pelvis? And then the pelvi starts to activate, right? So as we open out the arms and we remove the ball, I want you to actually spiral all the way to all fours with your chest down onto your bolster. So uncross, rotate smooth left or right, turn, and slide the blanket on the top of the bolster down to the edge of the short end of the bolster so you have support under your knees. And basically kneel and stretch your hands on the other side of the blanket and lean forward into your bolster and create this upward dog supported, and the front of the hips, the hip flexors lengthen. Get into that awareness from your structure, deeper embedded into a little more of the subtleties. Right, so you might feel the muscles in the core of the body be on alert all at the same time, right? So there's not the same shape that we were just in our back position, but now we can feel the strength in the front and the back line. And then feel if you can hook your toes under and then move back to table. Walk the hands back so they're under your shoulders and lift up the knees and stretch the calves so the heels reach to the floor. And then with each motion of that feeling of the heels reaching down, let your head lower and keep it simplified in the sensation of focus of the seat reaching back. Walk the feet directly, toe to toe. Kick the right leg towards the ceiling. Turn the right hip out so the right foot basically falls down to the right buttock and the hip rotates externally. But it's an internal dynamic to get here, isn't it? It takes quite a bit of cooperation with your muscles and your range of motion. And then turn down, right foot down, and sweep the left foot up. Flip that left hip open, drop the left heel towards the sitting bone. So this is often called fire hydrant pose. So you get a feel of the ribs turning. And then as you rotate back on for your feet wide, let's take the hands to walk back to our feet. And then as we reach onto the ankles, you're going to be in this simple, wide stance, Uttanasana. So head weight is down. Elbows are open. Now with that myriad of awareness of your sitting bones, your hip bones are backing up. Now with the knees bending and the weight in your spine centering, can you bring your left hand to the outside of that right ankle and twist to the right? So we're continuing that awareness of twists and diaphragm, and we're inverting the body here. So that diaphragmatic exchange is quite challenged when you're with your head downwards from standing to going straight down versus the legs up in the air. So there's different inversions. Turn the other side, right hand to left leg, twist, left, rotate, breathe. Lower the left hand, let the arms completely raggedy doll dangle. The weight of your head descending. Connect into the belly and noticing when you inhale. Right? You have to go against gravity to move the diaphragm when you're upside down. And it goes with gravity when you exhale. When the diaphragm is on actually a descent, but a normal standing pattern, if you can call it normal, it has to ascend on its own. So it's an interesting inner dynamic and inner kind of repair and massage and recirculation internally. So I'm going to encourage you to walk the hands forwards now and come down to your hands and knees, round your back into cat, arch the spine out of cat, and then back into that retreat. Stretch the muscles between the vertebrae, feel the reach. Inhale, arch. And exhale, hollow the belly. Neutral, tail. Turn the bolster now, and we're going to turn so that we're going to sit facing where our rear is right now. So turn back to sitting on your bolster. And take that blanket that's behind you in a roll, and I want you to have it so it's in a flat quarter fold. And take the blanket that's in front of you, and you're going to roll it up under your knees. Kind of lift up the knees a little bit with that blanket. It's not substantial, but it's better than hyperextending, isn't it? And we're going to go ahead and lengthen forward. So sit forward, Paschimottanasana. Take a belt and reach it under the soles and flex the feet to about hips distance. Activate the thighs and lean forwards. Feel the belt a little higher up on your feet towards the arches. Stimulate. Notice the balance here in your legs like you did in your standing forward fold. Do you feel your calves? Do you feel that balance in the calves? And now when you come back up, I want you to cross the right leg over the left. Okay? And we have this blanket option. I'm going to stuff the blanket a little higher up under my left thigh. So I have this crossing of my right leg over my left leg. And so when you do that crossing, can you pull yourself forward with the hands on the belt midway? And then come back up center. Inhale. And exhale one more. Inhale up. Bring the right foot so it steps down the outside of that left leg. This is important that you still have that blanket under your thigh. And then we're going to take that belt over to the left side. I'm using the whole length of the belt right now, so it's even. And then reach my right hand around to the belt, around my back. Hook the left elbow to the outside of that right knee and twist. Come into the twist. Feel that circulation through your left foot and rotate. Good. Now come back center, and I want you to prep to switch sides, but take a moment in between the sides. Take the belt under both feet. Sit up, tone, elbows by your sides. Establish your sitting bones. Lift the left foot, cross it over the right leg, and you're going to bring the belt around to the right hip and reach your left hand around to that belt. Hook that right elbow to that left leg and twist. Now, we're going to feel this relationship when we turn this side first. We're rotating the spinal column. Okay, notice that. How can you not? And then you're going to come back forward, hold the belt with both hands, okay? Cross the left leg over that right leg, and you're leaning forward. Okay, so I'll give a tiny tutorial on that crossing. So just to give you a full appearance of the legs, continue in. Your right leg is straight here, and your left leg is crossed over, right? And your blanket is underneath the thigh. So you do want to have a field of support here for your calf to stretch. So I've got to get my hands to walk down on that belt closer to my foot. There's no goal for us to get our foot. So I want you to feel the awareness into that calf. Now slip the belt off, and then as you come onto your back, you're going to uncross. You might do a little bit of tap on the legs with a flat hand, so a little bit more of a slap hand versus a fist. Kind of get the flesh to fluff up, fluffy flesh before you invert. Okay, fluff your flesh. So, blanket goes off to the side, blanket behind me scoots back, and then I go ahead and flip onto back, legs up. Okay, so immediately we're into this position where we'll add a sandbag if you have one on your feet. If you don't, no problem. You can use a belt around your feet so you establish the certainty of the pose. It gives you some defining boundaries, right? Like the sand makes you kind of define your awareness in the legs a little bit. So feel the feet flex, regardless of your prop of choice on them, sand or belt. Stretch your arms open and then back with your hands into cactus. And feel that natural sensation of the tailbone at the edge of the bolster and reversing the flow of gravity to the heart and the brain. Right, so inversions really place the weight of the abdominal organs, right, into a position where the diaphragm actually has to work against gravity. Like I mentioned earlier, when you're breathing, they work against gravity for the inhale. So for the ascending moment, right, of the in-breath. So you might notice here some of that particular awareness, and it might not be apparent, just that circulation in your legs is very clear. So be here, come into the shape, circulation, awareness, dominant through the legs, the back, the belly moving with the breath. Let the body enjoy the moments of repair, kind of sets the body into a situation of repairing and recirculation, primarily for the organs, right? That's a similar thing with twists. Twists are more about the organs than they would be about the flexibility in the body. So there's that mid-body awareness. It's kind of a different thing than other forms of exercise. Right, you can concentrate on those areas being supported right now. The core, the organs, the weight-bearing aspect using the sand. Okay, now if you have that sand, you're going to do a few leg presses. Bend your knees, so feel them lurking over your chest. Inhale, and then exhale, push up. And then bend the knees again. And so you want to focus on that weight of the abdominal organs right onto the diaphragm. So you have to bring that, really that during that inhalation phase, it's the challenge. The diaphragm has to become a little stronger for you to breathe effectively. And it's going to do that anyway. It's going to effort and try if you put yourself in this position. Either that or you get out of it. And then as you round out the sequence of events here, you're going to bend your knees and place the sand on either the back of the legs or below the knees. So either sandy hamstring or sandy shin, one or the other. You choose. If your knees are delicate with this type of bending, you do not put the sand on the shins. You simply place it on the back of the legs. No big deal. But let the legs hover. So if you have the sandy hamstring variation, you can let the knees maybe move a little closer to the chest and massage in through the both the ascending and descending colon. Now as we move the sand aside, adapt to that change of no weight. Grab a ball or a block between the knees. As it's placed there, open the arms out. And then as your knees go side to side, massaging through the back spaces of your breathing muscles, the ribs and the space behind. Feel the weight of your eyes rest into your face, as if they had weight. They're fairly dynamic. Now as the knees are wandering from right to left, I want you to get a feel of that movement of the, kind of the lateral movement here of the side body. Kind of regulate back through center and then over to the second side. Elevated reclining twist. Now keep into the pattern of feeling the back muscles of the waist, and actually the back muscles of the waist that lead into the external kind of hip rotators here. So when I move the knees in center, I'm going to hug the knees in and then push the bolster forwards and place the feet on top and lift up the hips into bridge pose. So keep it going. Lift up the hips, feel the balance down into your feet, up into the back of the legs. Manage the strength into your glute muscles, okay? And then lower the spine down. Okay, so give a few more moments of these. We're going to alternate lift and lower. And I would encourage you to stay grounded in your lower bones and let your upper bones feed into that grounding. So instead of flailing the arms back, you're going to keep them by your sides. Feel your palms open. Feel your hips lifting. And the spine lowering down. And can you notice the awareness connectivity between the glute muscles, the spinal column, the lift of the hips? Such an important area to have some sensible alignment, since it can slip into postural habits, from the top of the pelvis down to all the way through our feet. It's our root. So use this as a time to kind of get your guard on and to feel it deeper than just the exercise. So next time you do the lift up, can you grasp onto another block, place it under the back of the pelvis at the mid-setting, and then land there for a few moments. Feel the lift of the hips. Feel that transfer of awareness into the back, because it's lifted, right? Your back of your pelvis is just easily lifted. Let the shoulders naturally open and back and down the back of the shoulder blades. Belly moves with the breath. block away or the ball, and then stretch both legs straight forward and down on the bolster. This is a very fine supported bridge, right? This is a true supported bridge pose. So the one thing you might change about it is where your lower legs end up. So what I would do is move my bolster, use my feet to kind of push a little forward so my bolster's under my calves. The reason I like that is I can get my thighs to internally rotate a whole lot easier if my base of my leg has the bolster. Okay, so feel that if you really crave more of this hip flexor opening, you can always add your sandbag across the top of the thighs. So just keep that in mind if you stay with this. Okay, now let this be a few more moments. Feel the buttocks. If they don't have a tension of supporting that front hip stretching, you just notice if it's really challenging for you to get the front to open. So it's a matter of balancing, inner balance. Okay, now slide the feet up on the bolster, and then as you push down, lift up the hips and slide the block away. Carefully craft moving your spine all the way down. Where else would it go? Once you make it there, hug your knees to your chest. Back of the legs are below the knees. Rock it a little bit, easy going side to side. Now we'll simply let the feet decide where they're going to be supported on the bolster for the final set here. So we'll take a hip stretch, and I want you to possibly move the bolster to your right side, and you're going to need a ball or a block under your sacrum. And then as the right leg stretches down, you're going to cross the left leg over to the bolster and tuck the ball at the sacrum. So it's not too low. You don't want it at the buttock, right at the glute. You want it a little bit above the buttock. Okay? Now, this feels pretty nice for me without the sand right now. I don't necessarily need a sandbag, but if you would like, you can add one to your outer left thigh. If you feel pretty good here, maybe you need a blanket on top of your bolster, and maybe you don't want any height added. You want to hold your leg with your right hand. So however you go into that, get a feeling here of the rotation of the stretch into your shoulder. So your left arm open. Let your eyes close and go in, breathe, recenter. Okay, now where that left arm is open, you're going to start to shift in a few moments. So start first with this process of the left knee bending, right? So I'm going to slide my left leg up a little higher now. I can do that because I don't have a sandbag. It makes it easier. But if you do have a sandbag on the outer left leg, right, you might end up guiding the left leg a little downstream, not upstream. Just kind of play with the sensation, using that sandbag as a helping hand, is what it is. Helping sand. Okay, now we're going to take that sand away, and we're going to move the ball or block, and then when you roll on your back, be very careful here for the sacrum. We're going to draw the knee for sacrum's sake. Knees to chest and circle. Rotate. Feel that movement of the knees, both directions. Now I'm going to take the bolster to the left side and fine-tune this. So as I move the bolster to the other side, I cross the right leg to the left. On the bolster, use the ball. This is really helpful to have. Something right at the sacrum. It kind of helps the anchoring of the back of the pelvis, and then it lifts up the hip, and then that kind of crust of the hip crosses over into the leg. It's a kind of a crested hip position. So I have to finagle my back muscles and kind of open out the dialogue in the ribs on this position. So really feel that. If your sand on your leg is helpful, use it. If it's not useful, just pass on the whole idea. Sometimes you know what's the right touch for you. Whether it's more things or closing your eyes and going in. Because there's always something in your environment to do. So just practice. You know, as you start to release that pressure with that left hand or the sandbag, you're going to guide your knee back a little bit up, slide the ball away, and then as you move the knees back in towards center, I want you to hold on and get the legs to stretch up, reach for your belt, place it under your feet, and then hold on to the belt next to your hips. So I've got my elbows kind of launched on the floor so the hands are straight up from my elbows. I'm actually not next to my hip, I suppose, but my elbows are on the ground, and I'm going to let my legs go a little forward. I'm going to try to really get my elbows on the floor here, and then the feet go straight up so they're slack on the belt. Inhale, belly full. Exhale. Exhale. Let it go. Inhale, belly full. Yeah, you're kind of getting into that diaphragmatic focus. Exhale, forward. Okay? So it's a little bit like a trampoline there in the diaphragm with the movement right now. So when you're pushing forward, and then you're pulling back, giving some strength, your belly can be relaxed. You don't have to tighten the belly, make it do anything different than whatever it's going to do right now. Okay, so my legs are going forward. There is a little bit of resistance here. Last time, hold on closer to your feet. As far up as you can go. Just with natural reach, nothing too rounded in your back to get closer to your feet. And then let the hands pull legs closer, bend your knees, take the belt off your feet, and let's come into a final pose of choice for just simply mentally returning to balance. So I'm going to use my bolster close into my thighs and hug the bolster with my legs over the top. Okay? And you might find this is just fine with you, just to have that relaxed support under your legs. Doesn't have to be different for your spine. And then add that sandbag either on the top of the thighs or across the rib intersection. Okay, so thighs or ribs, whichever seems the right thing for your body now. If you would like to bring your legs up the wall or take a chair shoulder stand or make a bolster bench, that's okay. Either of those is fine. But let's come into our shape for the next few moments. Relax the eyes, closing them, and returning that subtle focus to the length of your breath, and the exhalation letting go. Really feel the belly pulse. Now when you return connection down into your feet, noticing the heels touching down. If your heels are floating and you're at the wall or in a shoulder stand, the cue is awareness of the legs all the way through the inside line of the legs. Yeah, centering is important. Finding a moment to center. Maybe you get sleepy when you try to center, but come back into alignment with breath, and that might perk you up. Remember, you can control yourself, your breath. Now move the balance of the sand off of your body and take a moment to bring the legs up, the knees in, wherever you happen to be. We're going to come back to a centering few moments. Roll to the side and let your hands carefully apply pressure to bring you up. And you might take a seat on your bolster and let the knees fall open with the feet together. Take a bound angle or bound ankle position and lift your hands up, connecting in front of your heart. Lower your gaze down to your heart center, surrendering here. And let's gather the focus to receive wellness, bowing into your heart.